one deaf boy. He was very friendly, very nice, and he was the only deaf kid in the middle school. But he hated his middle school. The reason why was because everyone in his middle school could hear. And everyone in the middle school would pick on him and insult him because he was deaf. Said he couldn't drive, said he couldn't become an airline pilot, and put all this kind of pressure and stress on him. And he's made him feel like he was worthless. And he told himself, man, I wish that I could become hearing just like everybody else so no one else would pick on me. But he accepted the fact that he was deaf. And he only had one friend. His friend was a nerd. This kid who had big Coke bottle glasses, but he was extremely nice and extremely intelligent. He knew all about science, about video games. He was always babbling on and on about rockets and just how to fix things. And the deaf boy would listen to his stories, but, you know, not because they were good stories, because he was the only nice kid to him. And one day, they were on the bus. It was real early, about 6 o'clock in the morning. They were on their way to school, and the deaf kid was looking out the window, looking at all the trees, breezing by, dreaming about becoming an airline pilot, about becoming some kind of hero, the first deaf this. And then someone tapped him on the shoulder and threw his daydream out of whack. And he looked, and it was that nerd, his friend. He looked over and he said, oh, I don't want to be bothered by him. And then he looked out the window, and the kid tapped him on the shoulder again. And then he said, what is it? And the nerd showed him a container with this thick, viscous liquid. And he said, here, check it out. And he gave it to him. He's like, oh, it smells awful. He gave it back to him. And then he said, here, drink some. He's like, I don't want to drink some, but, I'll drink some to make you happy. And he immediately, once he put it in his mouth, he spit it out and spit it everywhere, spit it all over the place, coughing and saying, oh, that tastes awful. No one would like that. Oh, it's so gross. Why'd you give it to me? And the nerd was laughing at him and saying, ha ha ha, just laughing at him, giving him a thumbs up. And then all of a sudden the deaf kid felt something weird, some sort of rush come over his body. Then the bus stopped at the school, and they got out, and he saw the interpreter. And the interpreter, this beautiful woman, came up to him and said, good morning. The student said, good morning. You excited we're going to gym? He's like, oh, gym. Oh, that's right. We're going to go to gym and play dodgeball. He did not look forward to that. So he goes in the gym, and they're playing dodgeball, and he's always the first one to get out. Oh, of course, because everyone picks on him, singles him out. So he's getting hit by balls from every which angle. And they're telling him, get out, you're out, you're out. So he's like, oh, this is a boring game. I used to like this game, but now it's boring because everyone singles me out. So he starts to get a little upset. And then after gym, he goes to his locker, and he gets his books and gathers his things and prepares for the day, puts it in his backpack. He's going on to his English class. So he's walking to class, not really excited about what's going on in class and going to English class because the English teacher is very, very snotty, very, very rude, always judges everybody, and is always unfair to the deaf kid, and doesn't like the deaf kid because he uses ASL. That's his first language. But she tells him, no, you shouldn't use that. You should use English. English was here first before ASL. You should not use ASL. And so he just, didn't pay it any mind, went into class, and then he sat next to this boy named Roy. Roy was a very, very, very big bully, a big husky kid and tall, but him and his family were rich. His mom and dad gave him everything he wanted. He was a very spoiled kid. If he wanted a video game, they would give it to him. If he wanted a ATV, they would give it to him. But he was very two-faced. To whenever he met people, he was very nice to them at first, and then he would stab them in the back. And this deaf kid hated Roy because Roy would always laugh at him and tell him things like, you suck at dodgeball. Oh, yeah, you think life is easy because you're deaf. And the interpreter would be angry interpreting all this too. They said, and the deaf kid would say, excuse me, please just let me in class. And Roy would say, no, you can't come to class because you can't use ASL in this classroom. I can't come to class because I'm deaf. And Roy would say, yeah, that's right, because you're deaf, you can't come to the classroom. He threw off his backpack and threw it on the locker and put a big dent in the locker, and the interpreter got startled. But Roy was like, that was nothing.